Welcome to the Your Living Proof podcast. If you love someone struggling with addiction and are searching for answers, we're so glad you found us. Families are the cornerstone of long-term recovery, yet they often go unsupported. Our mission is to strengthen and support this vital but often overlooked part of the addiction recovery process. We're here to help families understand what their role is and isn't in this journey. Addiction deceives and takes everything you're willing to give. But if you know better, you can do better. And we're here to help you do just that. If you're asking, how can I help my addicted loved one? This is your community.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Your Living Proof podcast. Did I sound official?
Yeah, you always do. He loves to do his intro.
I don't really love my voice. I don't know if anyone does.
I know that is true. I was just talking to our producer about this. It's so hard to hear your own voice. Like you have to get used to it for sure. And yeah. I don't know that I am still.
But we're in a new studio. It's a new year. There's new expectations. We're just extremely grateful that this resource has continued to grow. More and more families are finding out about it. So all of you who've shared it, thank you. Unfortunately, it's a resource that millions of families need and don't have. So our goal is to continue providing insight to families of what their role is and isn't when they have someone lost in their addiction. The family's often ignored in the process of this, standing on the sidelines, just wondering, first of all, what's going on? And second of all, what do we do, right? Each situation is extremely difficult, not only with what the person's dealing with, but how the family's being affected, and then the entire idea of what we should and shouldn't do.
Amen.
So today's an important topic. This is episode 123.
Yep. And it is a really important topic, and I'm actually really excited about it because we talked about it on social media a couple times, and I don't know that we had a more extreme response to anything that we posted in a long time.
Well, it's in the behavioral health world, it's running rampant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just in rehabs, but like in psychiatric units, in hospitals, emergency rooms. So the topic is a big one, and it's not just weed anymore. Anybody who's been following us for a while and listened to some of our episodes, followed some of us on social, know that the word I dislike, Mom, did you hear that? I didn't say hate. The word that I dislike the most is just.
Yeah.
The minimizing. It's just smoking weed.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just weed anymore. And that's what we really want to get into today.
Yeah. And can I just say how ironic this is coming from Danny?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I was like, this is like a full circle moment. You guys, if you didn't know, Danny is nearly 19 years into his sobriety. So that's amazing. But weed was definitely something you enjoyed at one point in your life, if I'm not wrong.
There was a period of time where it was like short. My purpose. It was my best friend. It was my religion. It was what made everything better.
Yeah. So I actually just wanted to say that because I don't want you thinking if this is your first encounter with Danny, that he's some clinician that is viewing this from some outside lens, because he's not. This is somebody who's been in
who was beguiled with a counterfeit.
Yeah.
And it worked until it didn't. But there are some distinct differences today, right?
Yeah, no, we're going to talk about that for sure.
Back when I was younger, it was the gateway drug, right? Everyone's what was the gateway drug? They introduced you to these other things. For me, it was, and for millions of others, it was.
Yeah.
It was this thing that opened this door to this world we didn't know, that was full of counterfeits.
Yeah.
That took us down a deadly path. Today is not the same.
Yeah. And that's what we're really, really going to talk about. And we're going to get into a lot of details and some data and just the realities of what parents and families are facing. But before we jump into that, I do want to just say, if you're new here, super glad you found us. And if you're listening and thinking, wow, something has to change. I don't want to keep doing it this way. We don't want you to just know that the podcast exists, because we are glad that you know that it exists, but we have some other things that we've created to support you in 3 different ways. So we have a free community. We just launched a brand new membership option that you can check out. And then we also have our private community, which is like a deeply intensive space for families who are ready for that kind of experience. So I'm not going to dive into all the details of all of that right now, but just know in the show notes, you can go explore all of those and get plugged into wherever you see yourself fitting through that link. Well,
and for full disclosure, we do have a private program that's been highly effective.
Oh, yes.
And
if you've been here for a long time, you've heard, in fact, you have heard a recent episode of somebody that was in our private program who just shared her beautiful experience.
And there'll be more testimonials to come. But the point is, then there's also a free community. And what we created was something in between for people who are like, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to dive headfirst into this right now, but I need to know a lot more because this isn't working.
Right.
So we'll get into that. I want to go back to something. I know that the topic of this podcast is going to attract a lot of people who are genuinely interested because you're in this specific situation. Just stay with us, because this is going to help you more than anything else you've researched or looked through online or on your own. But there's also going to be a lot of people listening who have strong other opinions about this.
Absolutely.
And who are going to want to prove us wrong and find something that we say today that is contradicting or isn't true, because they've found this to be a benefit to them, at least for the time being, right? But we need to pull the curtain up and talk about what's happening to the majority. When it comes to any substance, whether it's microdosing ketamine, whether it's kratom, whether it's hardcore illicit drugs like heroin or methamphetamines, fentanyl. Everyone has differences of opinions, but when it comes to some of these more socially accepted things, right? I don't think most people agree that methamphetamines, cocaine is like acceptable and that people can socially responsibly use, right? There are certain things not, but there are a lot of things, even like alcohol or prescription medications, things that are legally obtained where people are like, no, there's a healthy way to do this.
Yep.
If there is ever a legitimate argument for someone who benefited from these things that had a medical benefit, fine. But the opposite of that are the majority of people who maybe for a moment had a medical benefit, psychological benefit, and then experienced severe repercussions from this.
Yeah.
So we're not here to even claim that none of these things have ever served a benefit to somebody. What we're saying is it was for a temporary period of time, and the majority experienced something far worse that is not being talked about. I recently received a call, and I just want to share this because it was just last week, a family that joined our private program. And the very first conversation with them were, hey, he was a stud college athlete, incredible grades, was thriving in life, doing everything. And yes, he was smoking weed. And now, in a short period of time, are terrified. Other adult siblings of this individual are fearful because they're like, yeah, this is life-threatening. Others are scared of what to do. And mom describes it best as, how am I supposed to do anything when he's not even capable of passing the salt at the dinner table?
Yikes.
Dad is extremely successful and busy and wanting him to just knock it off. So what happens is you have this family of incredible all-star humans who are all getting ragdolled by this situation that stems from just smoking weed or smoking too much.
Well, and that is the disconnect that I want to talk about right away, which is when parents hear weed, a lot of times they're thinking of like the weed that existed when I was growing up, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, which it's really just, I'm going to be clear, that's not what we're talking about here. It's not. And
if people think it's the same, you just stay with us for a minute.
Yeah, no. And I'll say this. Even if you want to argue that, there are the New York Times, for crying out loud, who was super pro legalization starting in 2014, fighting for this.
You love the New York Times, huh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's my favorite publication. How did you know? But they have been pro supporters of this. And even they, in the last month, came out with their own article basically saying, we way underestimated parts of this. And so what I'm trying to say is this isn't fringe anymore. Like this is where we're catching up to the reality of what legalization, whether you were for it or against it, we're just going to talk about the facts of what it has brought us now.
And rather than diving into some of the real details of these studies, you're linking some of this, right?
Oh, I have brought my receipts, y'all. You have homework to do after this episode. If you're like me and you want to see all of that, I have probably 15 articles that you can look at PubMed. Like all of these aren't just like little random one-offs. They're really, really fascinating articles.
Yeah, and we'll touch on a few of the things because some of you may have already done your research to look into this. If you go anywhere and research this, if you're watching the news or you're seeing anything on social and you look into it, you'll soon see an onslaught of information coming to you about it because psychiatrists are talking about this, doctors are talking about this. But I mentioned earlier in the episode, in the behavioral health world, I'm one person and I'm working with multiple families in different states whose individuals have an addiction that's progressed to a place where, yes, they need some help. Often requires medical stabilization through detox, treatment centers, things like that. Now, working with hand in hand, these medical detox facilities, these treatment facilities, they are experiencing right now and seeing a flood of people coming for induced psychosis from cannabis, from marijuana use. Hospitals who are now getting 3-to-1 people with marijuana issues over those of like fentanyl or amphetamines. It's a serious problem that's coming in a huge wave right now because yes, too many people underestimated this.
Yeah.
We all know the issues that we're facing, right? Like, let's look at the practical ones. It's somewhat socially accepted.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to just call BS. This is so ridiculous. Society standards have all but collapsed. Some of us live in areas where thankfully maybe we're holding on for dear life with certain society standards, but they've all collapsed. There are billboards, even in the state of Utah where we reside. We're all supposed to be at a perfect higher standard of living out here. There's billboards up and down the freeway about legal cannabis that you can purchase. And remember the other one, even the other day had one that was like, our kids saw it and it's like free delivery. You can have it delivered.
Same day.
Right? Like it's socially accepted. It's easily obtained.
Yeah.
Working with some of these people in their addictions, I've actually found out they're all familiar. For example, in our community where we live, all the people that are using are very familiar with a certain location where there's a dozen doctors or so in a small area that will easily prescribe them anything they want, whether it comes in the form of Adderall or medical marijuana or benzodiazepines for anxiety. It's just so easy to obtain, which is a big problem.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I just want to make it very, very simple because I feel like this is where families are getting caught off guard.
Yeah. If you're listening and you're like clueless.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe you're not even clueless. It's just that you don't completely understand the full picture. I mean, I would put myself in that category of,
because why would you know if you didn't need to?
Well, yeah.
know?
And I mean, it's like, I grew up in an era where it's like, I just go back to like thinking of the movie like Friday, where it's like people were just smoking joints and it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like you knew the potheads, like, yeah, they were kind of lazy and silly and funny, but whatever. Like it wasn't like, it wasn't catastrophic. And so I just want to kind of go through what today today's landscape looks like so that you have a better understanding of the reality. And again, I just want to emphasize that it is not what I just described of like probably what you grew up with. So there's three main ways that people, and I mean people, not just kids, are using weed today. They're smoking it, vaping it, or eating it mostly in the form of gummies.
Can I jump in there?
Sure.
That right there, the third one, we can't skim over.
Oh, no.
Because that's captured a whole new...
That's like its own little microcosm of users.
The gummies.
Yeah.
Because it's cute, it's harmless, it's odorless. That's actually what's picked off a lot of people who are never out seeking to get high.
Yeah. Well, it's also the people who would never vape or
middle-aged moms, moms.
Right.
Like just people who are going to a doctor for specific things. And guess what? Can I touch on one thing?
Yeah.
There was a lot of doctors doing this, right? With the intention of it being better than maybe the alternative or something else. But still, they're always just offering these chemical solutions to things that people need to
work through, actually.
Work through.
Yeah.
And what are the doctors supposed to do? A lot of people are pointing fingers at the doctors. I'm one of them because it makes me insane. Most people's first drug dealer, me being one of them, was the doctor.
Well, yeah. And I mean, again, doctors are being put in horrible situations too, because it's like somebody comes in with a problem and they want a solution. They want you to write a prescription. They actually don't want to do the hard work.
This is where Satan has become so cunning. It's like, because it looks as a better alternative to some other things.
Of course.
But what it's doing to people is as destructive or more than some of these things that are looked at in a negative lens.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And that's why I do want you to just understand something. And that is like, even like the basic plant, like I'm talking about people that are smoking it. What you're visualizing when you're like, people are smoking weed. When we were growing up, that was about a 3 to 5% THC level. Okay. Now, the people that are smoking weed, it's 15 to 25%. Again, I brought my receipts. You can go ahead and look at that all in the show notes. 15 to 25%. That's a massive leap there. Vapes, this should scare you out of your mind. Vapes, which is, again, what most teenagers are using. And we're talking odorless, undetectable, right? 60 to 90% THC levels.
Can I jump
That
in?
is a potency jump. That is unbelievable.
Well, it's also for those that haven't partaken, like if you're actually smoking a joint or like a cigarette, the amount that you're able to intake at that point, is that the right word? Intake and inhale is based upon your lung capacity or what you can, right?
Right.
But with the vape, it's a condensed version of that. It's
super concentrated.
So it's almost like if you had the human capability of taking a cigarette and dragging the whole thing in one breath, which by the way, isn't possible. That's what they're getting with a single hit, because you have like a mechanical device that's melting it down, creating a condensed version of it and producing far more than you could do naturally.
Danny is exactly right. And it's concentrated. So again, there's even diagrams and what I've linked in the show notes. You should take a look. It's terrifying, but also fascinating at how they have made these jumps and how kids have no idea what they're getting into literally when they're doing this. And then just quickly, the edibles, it just looks like candy again, which is just adorable and harmless looking. But
that's the sad part.
But the hard part is those don't hit as hard. So people are like, oh, it's not working. And they'll take a bunch of it. And then all of a sudden it hits hard a little bit later. And they're at levels that no one needs to ever be at. So I just want to say, when you hear like it's just weed, you need to be really aware of like, oh, which kind? And all of them are significantly higher levels of THC than 20 years ago.
Okay. I don't want to offend anyone. A lot of you out there listening may have. I already admitted my guilt here, right? I'm just thankful that like through the process of recovery and what I believe in my higher powers atoning ability, like the sanity has been restored.
Yes.
Because this easily could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of us too have that stigma about people that smoke weed for a long time. Eventually we look at them as like those hippies dancing out there that we can't really relate to, but they look harmless.
Yeah.
We just kind of pity them.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe your friends that never stopped smoking weed.
Yeah, they're just like
school.
fried, perma-fried, right?
Yes. This is now happening to 16, 18, 20-year-olds. It's not taking a lifetime of this use to get them to that point. So parents are looking at this situation and they don't really understand what they're looking at.
No. And that's true. And it literally, you have to think a 3% product from 20 years ago is not the same as an 80% potency from a vape pen today.
Yeah. And just the stupid practical part of this that drives me crazy from experience. When friends and I wanted this, the amount of work we had to go through to obtain it was crazy.
Sure.
Like it was exhausting, making numerous phone calls, going and waiting for people, finding who had it. It was all done in secrecy. It had a stench, so we had to cover it. I mean, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Now it's available everywhere. It's advertised. Your doctor will give it to you. You can order it online.
Well, and don't you feel like it's compounded by so many other environmental...
Don't steal my thunder.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Just kidding. You can do anything you want. She knows she can get away with it. But no, thank you. That was the segue of what I wanted to, when we were talking about this, really shed light on more than anything.
It's terrifying.
Is what it's compounded with, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that all helps, right? We're not here to like prove this is a problem. It is a problem. We're trying to shed light as to why. Some of the practical things of it, the potency of it, how it's sold, how it's obtained. I was also going to say before we segue is people can obtain this and have it delivered to their home on certain food delivery services.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
Because they can stop at a vape store. So even I've learned, I don't know these things, I'm getting old, is some of these young people have taught me that like on certain apps and delivery services, they can use emojis that the significance is
basically add this to my order, my Taco Bell order.
And they're bringing it to their homes, stopping at stores and obtaining this.
Well, and then their parents end up paying for it too.
So if you think it's not easy to obtain, we're all mistaken. It is. And it's looking at it and understanding the situation. So here is a very critical part of this episode to remember. I think we all will agree, and looking at the data, and if you want to click on some of the resources we've shared to understand this better.
You really should.
Scientifically, it's a different drug. It's extremely more potent, not to mention everything that's being laced with other things now going undetected, right? It's ridiculous. And psychiatrists and scientists are trying to catch up with how serious this problem is. But think about practically the cocktail or the combination that's being added to this. Young brain, drug induced or affected by a highly potent drug. This is actually a different drug than it ever was before. So now you have a young brain that's doing this, and in a lot of homes doing it because it was provided by a doctor. It's legal.
Yeah.
This young brain that's drug induced not only is vulnerable,
so vulnerable,
but you're adding to it. Think about the combination being added to it. Drug-induced young brain, social media, gaming. Some of you out there know that gaming on its own is an issue. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry that's being fueled by the ability to keep them hooked for as long as possible. So the gaming combined with a drug-induced young brain, social media, the influence. Think of all of us who are living healthy lives free of any chemical dependency, how we get lured into. It could be how you're influenced politically, socially. Like we're all deeply influenced by social media and the algorithm it has to influence our brain. Then add in gambling. And the big one is pornography. Practical. Me and my friends, we'd have to do this huge effort to find one little joint. We'd all share that joint. And then if there was added to it, it was a Playboy magazine, 2-dimensional image on paper that we were all looking at. Is that right? No, that was wrong. But think about that experience to what it is now.
Well, first of all, you would never share because you don't have to. But number two,
the drug's more potent. You can consume it anywhere.
And porn is in your hand. Like, it's literally just anything you want in the palm of your hand any time of day. And you don't have to be in a room with your friends to watch it.
No, it's fully engaged. And we all know about the OnlyFans and the other things that are out there and available. This isn't pornography in the form of videos, which is horrible and destructive on its own, but it's the interaction they get to have individually by paying small fees to people and having that sexual experience virtually with someone who's engaging with them individually. Yeah. So why is this shared? Because if you imagine a young brain drug induced with a highly potent drug, not even to mention podcasts, for heaven's sakes, we're on one.
Yeah.
There are so many voices out there now that are highly effective in influencing people. This is where I'm not going to get off subject, but where a lot of young men, because of cannabis, are now partaking in content out there. There are podcasts out there feeding the narrative that you deserve this and that women are a certain way. I mean, believe it or not, there's a lot of highly effective podcasts out there that are distorting their thoughts on top of a drug-induced brain, which is fueling what? Their pornography use and other things. And now you've created just a cocktail of destruction. So this is far more than just even the drug potency itself.
Yeah.
It's what the culmination of this is.
Well, yeah. And I mean, the data definitely supports what you're describing. The younger the brain, because again, young men don't have access to their full frontal lobe until they're 25 years old. So that's a very vulnerable brain. And teens using cannabis are 11 times. That's huge. 11 times more likely to develop psychotic disorders. Can we say no to that? Holy crap. So this isn't just experimenting. This is happening during the most critical stage of brain development.
Can I share a story how this is flipped? It's like a switch that's flipped.
Yeah.
Because I've had a handful of families just in the last month or two who were highly successful at intervening, right? They reached out, their loved one, different ages, but usually around between the ages of 19 to 23 or 4, right? In this case, these were all young men. But the family learned how to effectively intervene. The situations were not ideal. I'm going to spare you the details, but they were successful at getting a loved one into treatment. Guess what happened? They got a loved one into a treatment and they actually said, you know what? We're going to remove them out of regular programming, like recovery programming, into a more qualified behavioral health center because of the psychosis they're experiencing from marijuana. Think about this. This is an individual at a young age who's put into a rehab, a treatment center, 30, 40 other people there that are all as sick as you can possibly get in their addiction, most of which to illicit illegal drugs, things like alcohol and amphetamines and opioids.
Yeah.
Who are qualified to be in the program. And yet these individuals who are experiencing the psychosis from marijuana use aren't qualified because the program's not even qualified enough for that.
No, that is what I'm saying. That's what's so scary.
So they're moving them into these other programs where it's more of a medical approach. They're stabilizing them with the right medicines.
But they're even having a hard time doing that.
I know. That just goes to show how absolutely serious this is.
Yeah.
It's a flip that's switching really quick. It's why the phone calls I'm now getting have gone from, this is why I just have so much resentments with that word just. Well, it's just weed. People who were saying that for a long time are now the ones calling who are like, I'm terrified. I spoke with a mother just in the last day who was horrified by how do I take action, Danny? What if we do this? I don't even think they're capable of understanding what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That didn't take 40 years to occur where a person's brain became mush. This was like overnight.
Yeah.
They're terrified because they knew it was happening. They knew they were smoking. They saw behaviors, and now they're dealing with like legitimate life-threatening situations.
Yeah.
She was worried that her son, if she didn't monitor him at all times, and he's like mid-20s, she's like, I don't even know if he'll be able to find his way home.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that you would have thought she was talking about somebody using fentanyl or something like that, not weed, right? Like, it's so crazy. So I want to be really, really clear in helping you understand this psychosis thing, because it's very, very real. Cannabis use is linked to almost 40% of an increase risk of psychosis. 40. You should for sure, if you're on Instagram, go ahead and follow Dr. Joseph Witt During. I will also put him in the show notes for you to follow.
He's on YouTube and other social platforms.
He's on a ton, but he is a doctor who is a psychiatric doctor who is shouting from the rooftops kind of what we're talking about and what he's seeing and how difficult it is for these facilities to manage even these patients at mental health facilities experiencing this level of schizophrenia and psychosis. So when you factor in high potency products and the frequency in which they're being used, which is always more than people are willing to admit, you get an increased risk of psychosis up to 3 to 5 times higher. And again, that's why this conversation is shifting across the board, because it's no longer deniable, not even for people who were pro legalization. Like, now what we are seeing, the data is here. This is not random. This isn't one-offs. This isn't fringe. This is a massive problem that was not foreseen. Well,
and parents are describing this constantly, and it's not just parents, right? Spouses, anybody, siblings. It's like they don't even know the person anymore. Like I said, that switch flipped, and it's like maybe what was tolerable just a minute ago is now we don't even know who we're talking to.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this, but also the practical insight. This highly potent drug on a young drug-induced brain, of course, is susceptible to all these other influences.
Sure.
But even the simple fact of gaming, like I worked with a mother recently whose son, we don't know what else it progressed to, but like the marijuana used was causing this. And it's also thinking about the gaming, keeping them up all night long. Mm-hmm. So now you have sleep irregularity that's horrible, which all these things are just adding to the psychosis.
For sure.
And it's not just creating a neurological problem with the brain, but it's actually now creating a physical problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Brain and body, like they're falling apart on every aspect is affected. That's what's interesting is it's like always minimized to just like, oh yeah, it's just this. And I'm like, now we're seeing it. It's affecting every aspect of their life.
If you're out there listening and this is happening in your home, you're not alone. It's actually what I'm seeing the most when people are seeking us out, sending messages, right? It's about a lot of different situations. Unfortunately, addiction has lots of different weapons that it uses, but this is the number one, right? I think combined with pornography, it's the cannabis use. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad that all of us were duped by this. Not only your loved one, but a lot of us of accepting that it was like, well, it was prescribed to them. Like when I hear families say, what am I supposed to do? The doctor prescribed to them. They're legally an adult. And it just paralyzes people.
Well, and I think there's also like a lot of us have bought into or accepted this narrative that like it's not addictive.
Oh, don't get me started.
It's not addictive. So can we really be that concerned about it? And I personally, I have a big problem with this thought of like something being defined as addictive only if massive withdrawal symptoms accompany it. I don't agree with that. at all. My thought is it absolutely is addictive and something that someone depends on and something that changes their personality and whether or not they're going to actually die if they don't use it is neither here nor there for me.
Well, we get too obsessed sometimes of like trying to explain it and analyze it and look at the data of what it is and isn't. I just like to keep it simple. And I live in the world of watching these people suffer. I watch these families fall apart. I watch where individuals end up because of this use. The word addiction sometimes is now being narrowed down to, does it require medical help to come off of?
Right.
Which is so absurd.
It actually is.
Because
like that goes to show the crazy world that we live in.
Well, and there's such a huge problem now that, by the way, insurance is looking at things like medical detox, medical stabilization now almost gets narrowed down to things like alcohol and benzodiazepines are two of the substances that people can die from the withdrawals of. Like without medical help, you can die coming off. What they always say is everything else is best summarized as the person won't die, but they're going to feel like they are, or they want to die because they're so miserable. So what's the word? What's the word that people need? You're dependent on, they're reliant on it. They can't live without it. They can't function without it. They can't poop without it. They can't get out of it. I don't know. But the word addiction itself is holding people back from taking action. These individuals that are consuming this, I hope listening to this episode, for all the myriad of reasons combined, it is a new drug. It's combined and laced with things because it's not regulated. There's so many people out there now trying to catch up, doctors and scientists. Why? Because there's a flood in the behavioral health world of people going into these psychiatric units and hospitals because of it. They're trying to catch up to make sense of it. We're now understanding that when you combine it with all these other things that are influencing the brain, we have a serious problem.
Yeah. So if you're a mother or a sister or whatever listening to this and you're like, no, but everyone keeps telling me it's not a big deal. But you're watching the person that you love unravel in ways that you can't explain. That's what's making you feel like you're crazy. And I'm just here to tell you that you're not. Like, I hope you realize you are not. The cannabis, this is not the cannabis that people think it is. Just like Danny just said. And these are not the outcomes that anyone, pro legalization or not, expected.
If you're on the fence with this, just take a minute and read the show notes. Reach out to us. We can provide lots of other data if needed, or you can just even start to search and you'll see that thankfully there's a lot of initiatives now being done to uncover the problem. Here's what I just want to say in closing. If the rest of the world wants to stay victimized by whatever it is that's holding them back of it being better than other things, or it being a healthy alternative, or it being non-addictive, or it being harmless, fine. This isn't an attack on some people's beliefs. It's not even an attack on cannabis itself. We're here to try to help empower the greatest resource against everything Satan is using these days to get people sick. We don't have to accept it if the world does. Because you know what the joke is? It's like whether you look at COVID or other things in life, like everyone has differences of opinions, but the data and the proof always comes out later on.
Yeah.
This drug is not only killing young people. If death isn't part of the process, it's taking a hold of them and ragdolling them into a place where what saddens me more than anything is most families get to a place where they look past the drug dependency and they think, is my loved one crazy? Mm-hmm. Like, what's wrong with them? And it's almost an easier narrative to think, oh, well, maybe they have a real serious mental health issue. Maybe they have multi-personality disorder, or they're schizophrenic, or they're bipolar. I'm not a psychiatrist nor a doctor, but I've watched hundreds of individuals enter treatment programs. The best way to summarize it, they were certifiably insane. I was one of them. And after a period of time, abstinence, because you're required in a program to abstain from it, you go through a process of medical stabilization and start to heal, heaven forbid, start to eat and sleep right. My personal experience has shown me with hundreds that 90% or more of these individuals who are certifiably crazy, I know that's not probably the best word, but it's a word I like to use.
It's real.
It's easy for me to understand. After a period of time, we're restored back to sanity, where even medications were not necessary for their ongoing healing. But what's the whole point of the story? It's not here to justify an attack on cannabis, because it's coming. The truth's coming out. We're here to help the families that are standing there paralyzed going, what do we do? What do we do? Who are just waiting. So there are families that feel like they're powerless. And the truth is you're not. There isn't going to be a day where the doctor comes to rescue with all the answers and solutions for you and your family, or your loved one and your family. Even your ecclesiastical leaders aren't going to have all the answers you need as a family. You need practical tools and guidance. So this is your call to action. Stop waiting. Insert yourself. Stand up for truth. Speak to the disease of addiction that your loved one has developed with your boundaries, with a plan, with unity in your family, regardless of what the rest of the world thinks. Because what they're doing while they're waiting is tolerating something that's only getting a hold of someone more and more. And even if the family thinks that it's not impacting them, it's rattling the entire core of your family in a way that will be irreversible if we don't do something. So we don't have to sit there and wait for the rest of the world to prove scientifically that this is not good, because you already know. Most of you, if you're listening, are living in a hell inside of your home that other people are unaware that you are. Your sister probably doesn't even know, to the extent that your family's suffering because of someone's marijuana habit. We have got to do something, and we can't sit and wait anymore. So I hope this is like your call to action to kind of stand up and do something. Reach out, allow us or whoever that is, for heaven's sakes, to support you, because truly you might be the only chance that your loved one has. Your husband, bless his heart, probably doing what most dads are, which is waiting for your son to just knock it off, or your daughter to knock it off. They would have if they could have. And now they're trapped. It's a deadly trap. Someone's going to have to pull them out of it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Danny. With your call to action there, I just want to say, if you're like thinking about that, please go to the resources we put in the show notes. I'm putting a link in there where you can immediately join and hop into the free community. You can look at what a membership looks like, which is an incredible new community that we are now building. And our private support program is honestly one of the most sacred spaces I've ever entered into, with some results that are almost unbelievable, but they are true. And I just want to really encourage you to do that. And if you're listening and you know somebody else that needs those resources, I hope you'll share them. I do want to close this out by reading the serenity prayer for families. God, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change other people, the courage to change the person that I can, and the wisdom to know that it is me. I hope you guys have an awesome week. Thanks for being with us.
See ya.